Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, the weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. It's been a busy week of going over news and constantly talking about the benchmark nonstop, but we're finally winding down as we patiently wait for mid-May to come around when the next combat live letter will come around as well. Until then, I'm kind of in other game mode. I mean, I'm working on 14. I'm actually almost done with my all relic grind at this point. A little bit of Hydatos left, and my animal weapons are not that far from being doable, like all the tome items and everything being purchased. So that's coming kind of to a close. And that's going to be waiting time, at least for, you know, those of us who aren't, for some reason, still logging in every week. I have raids to, like, get ready for Dawn Trail. We're doing, like, low item level stuff again with the team we have together. But other than that, let's see, I played Iodine Chronicles today. That was pretty good. It wasn't like, it hasn't gotten too amazing yet, but it was a pretty solid introduction to the first like 6 hours of the game. And then we got Stellar Blade this week. I thought Thousand Year Door was this week, but maybe I'm misremembering that. Grand Blue has its update the same day as Stellar Blade. I can't believe they're doing. What? Can I get a break, please? Can like two things not fall on the exact same day for at least 1 month out of the year? Can't win with that one. And yeah, and then there's Emerald Beyond, which I don't know if I'm even going to get to at all. So it's going to be a busy week on stream with a handful of different titles, a little bit of 14 mixed in there as well. But I'm looking forward to the next week of gaming. Maybe I'll actually remember to post something on the second channel the following week. I have videos lined up for it that I want to do, but I've just been like, ever since like the video I made a couple weeks ago about what was going on in my life and like taking care of a few things regarding that, I've just been like, finally just like, all right, let me just finally wind down and chill for like a little bit, like not try to be busy every minute of every day. And that is a very, very relaxing. Although a kind of joke idea that maybe not a joke kind of propped up in the last 24 hours that I got to follow up on that I think people would find entertaining, to say the least. But anyway, let's get into the Q&A because I didn't sleep much last night. I was up chatting with a friend. And for once, yeah, tired. Although I fixed my lighting a little bit, so maybe it doesn't look as much. It's a little bit brighter on my face, although now I look paler, which I do promise I see the sun all 7 days of the week. So maybe not the greatest. But all the same, let's get on to the Q&A. Thanks to everyone sponsoring over on Patreon. Nobody has to support. You choose to. All my content's available for free, and that's not changing. But there's always the options of like Patreon or the super chats or whatever people want. It doesn't matter. But anyway, let's get on to the Q&A. All right, we got a pretty loaded first one here. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Haps, I have 3 hopefully quick questions. It's written pretty quickly. 1, what is your favorite ever number anyone, or hashtag, idiot me, has anyone used? If you think I remember all of them until I see them again the following week, you are very, very overconfident in my ability to remember hashtags. There's been all sorts of them at this point, but they all blend together. On recent podcasts, talk about Ninja possibly going back to being a 1-minute job. What other jobs do you think could be adjusted? I mean, you can make any job a 1-minute job. You just change an ability or two or give them something new. But I do think that we probably need a handful of them. The only risk there is that people stacking them, but then, I mean, that comes down to game balance, you know, just like figuring out what number works for the job where having a 1 minute doesn't invalidate other jobs. That's a delicate game. And 3, with your video on the benchmark post on Friday, do you think we could see more hairstyles that have been added since A Realm Reborn get added to the benchmark? My character doesn't use those base hairstyles. It feels hard to get any idea of how they'll look. Maybe, but I think because it's based on isn't it entirely based on the character created? I haven't made actually sat down and made a new character outside of like looking at the options for female Hrothgar or male Hrothgar, like whenever they've added a new race or male Viera. And those are when they're new. So like, obviously it's just whatever's in the creator's in the creator. I have no idea, but no, I as much as they're talking about updating the character creator with everything that happened, I don't think adding hairstyles that you unlock through the esthetician are gonna show up there. And even for the sake, because you gotta remember, the benchmark is not first and foremost a character creator. It doubles as that, but it's first and foremost a means of testing your machine. So I sincerely doubt that if they aren't going to make changes to it in the main game, that they're going to make any change like this to it in the benchmark specifically. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello, Mr. Happy. Hello. First off, love your content. Thank you for all the info you've shared over the years. Thank you for watching. Just getting back into 14 after a break and started watching some of your vids and noticed your health fitness journey. I don't know what you're calling it. I'm calling it a return to form. If you go back 11 years to my original videos, I was suffering a shoulder injury at the time. I was in good shape. It's just, you know, didn't keep because of the shoulder injury. But wanted to say congrats, keep up the work. Yeah, I'm just I'm doing my thing. I'm not all the way where I want to be, but you know, I'm quite content with where I am. My question is, how are you doing this journey with a job that has you sitting most of the day? I just go to the gym. My job has me sitting at a desk, sitting in a vehicle most of the day, and I find it hard to getting fitness into my life. If you have a video up, feel free to direct me to that. No, I don't have a video. It's just I literally end stream and I go to the gym. I mean, you got to remember that at the end of the day, being a streamer is kind of a neat lifestyle, NEET. Like, it just kind of functions in that way. I'm home and I can do my own hours and whatever. But it presents as that. So I can just get up and go to the gym as long as I have the willpower to do it. And that's literally all I do. It's a lot more about what I eat. I don't eat unhealthily anymore. Well, let me put it this way. I eat healthy. I make the decision to eat healthy consciously 90% of the time. And I never feel bad when I take that other 10%. Like if I have a week where it's just awful, most of what I eat in that day will be normal. It'll be like chicken or beef or something. It'll be, you know, rice or, you know, like some breads or something. It'll be the things that you would normally eat when you're eating healthy. But then I'll just say fuck it and get some cookies or something. You know, like if I'm really feeling like, you know, it's one of those days I gotta feed the craving. And honestly, the more I work out, the more that happens. My body is clearly craving sugars and carbs more to like rebuild I can feel my body craving them more and more as I continue to fine tune things and achieve certain goals, especially this last week. Oh my goodness. This last week, I haven't put up that much weight on so many different workouts in quite a while. And my body is responding by craving more carbs. And I can only eat so much rice or, you know, English muffins or whatever to actually get myself to that point. So at some point, I just let my body go, you know what? I can more than afford to eat like a few bites of something that's not healthy, like once or twice a week, but I don't plan it or anything. But that's all it is. It's willpower. If I was someone who wanted to improve my at-home ability, oh my God, Aloha, stop clawing my leg. It's not playtime. I got to record this first. It's what's it called? Get a standing desk, get one of those like little under the desk treadmills, just anything that puts you on your feet while you can keep doing what you are doing. Schedule like breaks where you just walk in place or like lap around your apartment. You just got to do little things. Nothing has to be super drastic. It's all about changing a lot of little things over time, but not trying to do it all at once. Like don't change your diet and change your workout schedule and change this. And people are overwhelmed by that kind of change. When I first started doing what I'm doing now, I spent a month only working on eating and not working out at all because I knew what the real challenge was going to be, was fixing like 9 years of eating habits that were developed from being in a relationship and being injured and just kind of inheriting like buying and eating habits from somebody else because they were the other person around. So there's just a lot of that had to be overcome. So that month was really important. But there's so many, like nobody handles everything the same way. Some people can just pile everything on and do it all at once. And some people need to do it little by little. So just try to figure out what you can manage and start somewhere. Because it doesn't matter where you start. It doesn't matter when you start. It's just that you start somewhere with something, even if it's small, like cutting out soda. Like, oh, leave everything else the same, but cut out soda. Bam, you've taken a step. And that's something to celebrate. Like some people are like, oh, that's just one thing. And it's like, yeah, well, it's one pretty big thing that you can do. You gotta celebrate every single step that you take, or, you know, how can you appreciate everything in the long run if you can't appreciate anything, the little things along the way. So those are just a few things that I would look at, or that I did look at, and thus would recommend doing. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello. Hi. What's the best I could do in terms of gearing up for week 1 Savage Prog if I avoid crafted gear and pentamelding? If I understand correctly, you'll have 2 weeks to prepare the normal raid, drops, and new tomes. So incorrect to some capacity. Capped tomes drop when Savage drops. At the very least, for the expansion launch, they do. Now that changes when we get to point 2 and point 4, where we do actually get a week of capped tomestones. So no, you will only have the 2 weeks of normal raid drops. You'll have EX trial weapons, and that's pretty much it. I would highly recommend focusing on left side if you're really planning on not doing any crafted gear. Left side priority because you want the higher vitality and defenses that come from left side gear over the volume of things you can get from right side gear. Now, sometimes historically, the math has not always worked out that way. Sometimes the substats are so screwed on the left that people go for the stuff on the right. But if you're not trying to be completely optimal and ideal down to the singular substat that you get, then generally body, legs take priority, head, hands, feet, and then everything else. And if you can, eventually, when the new tomestones do drop, the weekly capped ones, you kind of work towards a weapon as you're working towards damage. Don't write off the weapon and be like, oh, I'm going to replace it when I beat the last fight, so it's point. No, get the damn weapon, because it'll help you beat the last fight. Definitely get the weapon. I hate when people just say, no, I don't want to get the weapon. It's going to be useless. No, get it. Second question, other than 6 and 9, are there other titles I should play for references in Dawn Trail? I'd say 11, but I can't in good conscience send you down that path. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Good day to you. Good day to you. Two-part question. Okay. With the addition of another limited job, do you think we might get a more concrete idea of the time frame for future limited jobs? No. I don't think there's going to be any consistency with this. I think they've largely been winging it this entire time and will continue to do so. Other than Puppet Master, which job do you want added as a limited job? Honestly, I'm shocked we're even getting a second one. I did not think Blue Mage was received well enough to even attempt another. So Puppet Master is the end of the line for me. I don't even think they'll make it that far. I think they stop after Beastmaster. I'm never going to believe it. Like, just Blue Mage, in my opinion, didn't do well enough to warrant Beastmaster. But I feel like they have an obligation because they said it already. So maybe, or maybe it'll be better. Who knows? But Puppet Master is the end of the line for my predictions. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, hi. And thanks for your answering about Turn 9 Savage. No problem. Yeah, just watching the video. I watched the clearance since I have rough ideas, but having not done T9N or UCOD means it's all new. Yeah, I mean, that's always going to be some sort of growing pain. I guess this is almost more of a question to ask Sly, which is, well, he's not here, so that's going to be tough. We see multiple crafters working on one thing. Oh, no, that's just benchmark shenanigans. There's always something in every benchmark that's shenanigans, at least one thing that's like a benchmark exclusive thing. And I'm going to throw that in that category. I sincerely doubt they do group crafting in Dawn Trail. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hola haps, hola. And yes, I'm saying that deliberately wrong. Do not think that I actually say hola as hola. Two unrelated questions. Great. One, this is the first time I'm around for a benchmark trailer. Notice most of the stuff they showed in combat for AoEs. Could it be a hint there's going to be more fights that involve AoE rotations? They've been making all of our big skills AoEs anyway. So it's like that's more of a trend that they've followed as expansions go on, is our big new attack is often, not for every job, but for a lot of jobs, is AoE. I think it's just a result of that. Those attacks are usually larger and more impressive to show in a trailer. So no, but I don't think any fights. I think these attacks are going to have splash damage and be AoE, but they're not designing fights with AoE in mind. I just think it's a product of the time. And number two, why don't they change the dungeon drop so it only gives gear of the jobs there that are being played? Because not everyone wants just gear for the jobs that they're playing at the moment. Some people do enjoy picking up gear for jobs that they're not currently playing. I'll give you a great example. When I go through the MSQ, am I going to be largely focused in the later dungeons on grabbing... so I'm going to be going through on Viper. So, once the scouting gear from the dungeons is better, yeah. Am I going to need the scouting gear? Sure. But what if it's like Viper, Sage, Warrior, right? In the dungeon group. But I still want to get some caster gear to play Picto. Like, what if all of a sudden caster gear is not dropping? Like, I get what you're saying. It's like it's more useful to the people there. I think it's more important to maybe introduce the same thing with the leveling dungeon. So when you do a leveling dungeon, it gives you a piece of gear that you can equip automatically on dungeon complete. I think maybe doing that in capstone dungeons as well might be a decent idea, but that doesn't really address what you're saying here. I just don't think they should do what you're suggesting, because it fulfills one concern but creates another, and I don't think that's the way to solve it personally. But I do think what you're saying, to address the second half, I do think that that's what they should consider doing. Because I was thinking about this problem the other day. So yeah, you are asking. I finally read the second half because I'm an idiot and I started answering before reading the whole thing. Yeah, I just think they should give you a piece of gear even in non-leveling dungeons. So this person very hilariously put the hashtag at the end, and YouTube had the only reason I found it is because I actually clicked read more on YouTube because it just didn't show it by default. Hiya, Titus. I know you work out. What is your routine? I recently got some extra time in my hand. I would like to get a little in shape. I do not have a routine. I have a schedule, and I fill that schedule with workouts that honestly almost differ week to week. I mean, like, for example, I've been on a dumbbell kick for chest as of late. But now that I'm so I ran into a problem this week with that. I started repping the max. So my gym is not like a powerlifting gym of any kind. So max is out at 100 pounds on the dumbbells, and for bench, I'm repping those now, and so I'm like, okay, I guess I can't do dumbbell for that much. Like I could if I just get more reps. Like it's only like 4 reps at most as like my 4th or 5th set. But I'm like thinking now, well, okay, I should probably go to barbell soon again. Like now that I've had this little stint with the dumbbells, I should go back to barbell or Smith. But that's it. I changed the method of which I work out, whether it be going from plate loaded press to machine press to dumbbell to whatever, or like with legs, I was doing Smith squats for my glutes, and then I moved over to doing hack squat. And then one week I said, well, let me double down on that and do both, because I feel like I didn't get that good of a hamstring and squat workout last week. So let me just do both of these 2 different forms of squats while also doing, hamstring curls or leg press on one day, making sure I get calves on both of my leg days so I can get 8 to 10 sets of calves in a week. Like it's literally just deciding I want X number of sets for each body part per week. And I want to target this particular part more. So like for chest, for example, right now it's like this area I'm focusing on a lot. So there's a lot of incline press, there's a lot of pec deck, there's a lot of flies, there's stuff like that. And then my flat press is kind of just like standing. I have like 4 to 5 sets of flat press and followed by 3 to 4 sets of, flat flies. And that's kind of it all I'm doing for flats right now. And then for shoulders, I've been splitting evenly. Like, I do how many sets? I do 18 sets of shoulders. I'm doing 3 pressing exercises. So like an Arnold press or a machine press or a standing barbell press or something. And then 3 sets of pulls, which will be like, those will be your lateral raises. Those will be, and I do full range of motion lateral raises, for example. But like my point is that I don't have a set routine. I'm honestly changing it every week based on how the previous week felt and what I feel like I need to adjust my goals for. Like I didn't do shoulders for like 3 or 4 months, which is why I have that 18 sets of shoulders in there now. Like I did the bare minimum of shoulders, I guess I should say. I did like 9 sets a week or something for shoulders. So it's come up with a plan. That's it. Come up with a plan that's easily achievable. Doesn't need to be nearly the number I'm saying, but something that works for you. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, Happy. Hi. My question for maybe adding another option for gearing is, would it be feasible to add relic armor grind similar to the weapon? So we do have kind of relic armor in a few cases. Eureka has a set. Bozia technically has a set that you can upgrade as you go. So nothing wrong with it. The only problem, and I say this is the only problem with relic armor, is it suffers the same problem where it's too low of an item level on release. I think if they take this route, and I don't think they should be afraid of this, make it a higher item level. I think they could do with higher item level stuff in general coming out of the relics as it releases, so it's not so far behind all the time. And if they do that, the armor makes more sense. So yeah, I mean, that's certainly an option and something they've exercised before. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello. Hi. I'm waiting to see if a static that does hardcore week 1 gives me the okay to join. And for me, this would be the first time doing hardcore raiding. And what advice do you think is useful to know for someone that doesn't have the experience of raiding 10 hours a day? In terms of working, talking with a group, health, keeping focus. Health is number 1. I can't stand people who do hardcore raiding and they talk about all the unhealthy things that they do when you could just do the healthy things instead and probably be better off to do. Like, that's how you burn out of hardcore raiding, in my opinion, is like taking on ultra unhealthy habits that, especially if you're someone that's like predisposed to like feeling depressed or like any sort of like sadness or whatnot. And there's like things you're not doing for yourself to make sure you're taking care of yourself. And that doubles down on the problem. Health is meal prep, lots of liquids, and they not just water. Water is a big one, but like you generally want water to stay properly hydrated, a somewhat reasonable amount of caffeine, I like to say. Like, for example, I drink a lot of caffeine. So for me, that's like 400 milligrams a day, but that's what I normally do. I just make sure that I have that. And then something that's more nutrient dense, like something with electrolytes is usually pretty good, but just don't cram energy drinks like nonstop. Like don't do stuff like that. Make sure the meals are pretty balanced. I like to try to stay light on carbs during raid week because I do get a little sleepy if I do eat a lot of carbs. So that would be another thing. As for working, talking, I mean, that's up to the individual group. That's up to your ability to communicate. Like everyone has a different experience / ability to communicate. Not everyone's made equally. A big thing is, so the biggest thing in hardcore is everyone learns differently. Everyone communicates differently. And thus, being open to somebody else's method of learning and understanding means you can communicate with them better, means you can get them on the same page as everyone else faster, which means you clear the fight faster. So you'll almost always have like one mechanic that different people struggle with, and it's rarely the same person every time. And you just need to be able to work with them, not ask for them to work with you. You want to be a bit forward on that one, be a bit of a leader in that regard. Okay, so I read this question. I started answering it for a question, and there's a novel here. It's 3 different questions, but it's a novel. So I'm gonna read the beginning bit, and then I'm giving you the TLDR of each of the big paragraphs that's here. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Haps. Hi. And several bonus greetings in case people forgot theirs. It's been a while since my last comment as a longtime lurker. Sorry it's been so long. No problem. I see you had a lot to say. I mean, considering recently a few different types of content, would like your opinion on their potential for implementation. Well, I don't find my opinion valuable in this case, but I'll do what I can. Now, keep in mind, I've already read these at this point. The first one is a rework of Guild Hests. There's no reason to do that. They are a tutorial-based system. They are not meant to be a long-form goal of content. They teach you rudimentary basics. Now, could you use them to teach more up-to-date modern rudimentary basics? Sure, but they're not going to be a long-form piece of content. A rework of battle leaves. Leaves are gone. They've gone the wayside. Leaves are designed to be a repeatable method of... they're meant to be repeatable quests with the goal of earning basic items and experience points, or sometimes Grand Company seals. They're not meant to be a long form. It's not like 1.0 where they had the boss leaves where everybody had to like use like, I don't know, it was like 10 or 20 leave allowances to fight like a boss. If the way 1.0 being made closer to 11, stuff like that made a whole lot more sense. Honestly, at this point, while they're not difficult, you have treasure maps. Like we just have other options for open world boss encounters, even if we do just kind of zerg them down. Leaves as a system have outlived their purpose now that we have so many other options. I don't see a point in forcing them into the limelight again. And third was a solo ultimate fight. Now, there's only so much you can do with less people in a group. Like Criterion's very impressive with what they managed to achieve for only 4 people, but there's a reason why 90% of the mechanics are stack and spread, or some variant of stack and spread, or eat a tower or whatever. Because they can't do tank swaps. They have to know there's only 1 healer in the group. There's only 2 DPS. When you only have 1, I think, honestly, the most reasonable pinnacle of difficulty is probably the duels in Bozia. I think anything beyond, and those you have special skills for. Like, those have to be made with special skills in mind, too. There's only so much you're reasonably going to be able to test for a single person that isn't just dodge more stuff. And that's not... Like, ultimate, yeah, could you really boil it down to just dodge more stuff? Sure. I mean, it's kind of what it is. But it doesn't really meet the need. And then just making a 20-minute fight of you just not being able to be hit, essentially, it's unwise. I don't think any of these ideas work. Wanting more content's fine, but it needs to make sense within the constructs of Final Fantasy 14. It's like when people say they want Mythic Plus from WoW in 14. I don't disagree that something like that I would probably enjoy and have fun with. But when I think about it functionally working in the way 14 is constructed, whether it be the GCD, whether it be the way dungeons are put together, which I think is a big part of what makes Mythic Plus work a little bit better in WoW, is actually the way the dungeons are constructed. It becomes a lot of, how much can we skip? How can we get it done this quick? Here, they'd have to completely redo it. I mean, honestly, it would just be how quick can you AoE them down? How much harder do they hit? Is there some sort of random affix that's causing like lightning bolts to hit the healer or some, whatever is going on? I don't think it works in the confines of 14. I feel like you need to make its own separate mode with its own separate like logo style actions, like, you know, Eureka or Deep Dungeon or whatever those other ones have. And if they want to do that, that's great. I'm totally in support of more stuff like that and experimenting like that. I just don't think it's one of those one-to-one. And I don't think any of these ideas work one-to-one either. I feel like it's just trying to force the issue instead of playing to Final Fantasy XIV strengths, which is largely its ultra structured content with a group. That's like the thing that 14 is like most notable for. And I think leaning away from that probably isn't the way to go. Besides, more solo activities. We had it with Endwalker, and I think we need to move in the other direction and focus on 4 to 8 people with the occasional more large scale thing like we had with Bozy and Eureka. Hashtag Mr. Happy Monday. Hey, Mr. Happy. Hi. Hope you're doing well. Doing all right. Despite the lack of, I'm doing pretty good. You know, I woke up a little tired, but I had all my coffee. I've had all what is it? 400 like milligrams of coffee. Milligrams? Yeah, I have 40 ounces. It's about, actually, it's more like 400 to 500. It depends, because it's like, I don't know what anyway, besides the point. So you have lost weight and look thinner. Thank you. What is your weekly routine? Oh, I just kind of touched on this earlier. Or what did you change in your diet? Yeah, diet is just, I answered all of this before. And not much has really changed from, 5-10 minutes ago. It's just eat better most of the time. Doesn't even need to be all the time, just most of the time. And find some way of being active. Don't just do nothing and hope that it changes. That's really it. Also, which jobs do you want to have flashy new skills in the job action trailer? I mean, I want everyone to get flashy new skills. I wouldn't like root against someone or root for someone more. Everyone deserves it. I've watched you, Xeno, and Arthurs for a while, never commented. Wanted to thank you for encouraging people like me to do ultimates. I've cleared all available ultimates. Never thought I would get this far. See, people always think that like, oh, I'll never do that. I could never do that. It's like, okay, well, if you think that every single time you see something you want to do, then you're just going to sit there doing nothing. We can all work to improve and get better and find a way. So congrats. And I hope that's a lesson to the rest of you. Hashtag Mr. Happy Monday. Well, it's technically hashtag Mr. and then Happy Mondays, which technically works too. Hello there. Hi. Appreciate all the videos and content. Thank you for watching. I've taken about a year break from 14 to play some games on my backlog. I'm utterly stunned how fun and great some games have been. For example, Wonderful 101 has utterly surprised me. What are some games you find yourself enjoying way more than you thought you would? My number one game of I enjoyed this way more in recent years than I thought I would is Harvestella. Like, I like life sim games. I like RPGs. The game was promising to be kind of a mesh of the two. And while it really, really leans more into the RPG aspect, the characters, the story, the music, and even just the basic farming aspects, which probably would need the most improvement if they were to ever do a sequel. I think there are certain combat things and RPG things that could be improved, but the farming bit I think would need to see the largest improvement in a sequel if they really want to nail down that particular aspect. I didn't expect that game to be as long. I didn't expect that game to be as emotional as it was. Like, it's one of those RPGs where you can clearly see that it's like a B quality game. Like, it clearly doesn't have the fine touches that like some of the big heavy hitters have. It's missing like large scale voice acting. Some of the animations are a little stiff. It's got a heavy reliance on items for healing versus actively dodging or, playing bits like that. But what was there that was good, that was so good, that is going to be a game that I recommend for like the rest of all of us RPG fans have that RPG that we know is not great, but we tell everyone to play it. And a lot of people come back and it's not something they like. That's going to be the Harvestella is going to be that game for me in the coming years. I can really feel it. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Haps. Hi. When can we expect a new series for PvP? Currently grinding trophy crystals. Series, you can expect one every major patch. So, for example, this one will last until 7.0. And then I don't know if the new series starts immediately in 7.0, but essentially like 7.1 is a new series, 7.2 is a new series, 7.3. So you always have the whole major patch to get the whole thing done. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Greetings, Haps. Hello. Do you know if there's a particular reason why we can only carry a very limited amount of Phoenix Downs and why their usage is extremely limited when comparing to other Final Fantasy games? Being able to stack over 99 as well as use them during combat was fairly common to do, because this isn't other Final Fantasy games. This is Final Fantasy 14. And if everyone could just carry around 99 Phoenix Downs and res everyone all the time, the game would be a joke, an absolute joke in all regards. So no, that's not going to happen. Would it break the game? Yes, it would absolutely break the game, because resing right now is a resource. Resing right now is something that's punishable. If everyone can do it and they can bring hundreds upon hundreds of them, suddenly dying pretty much doesn't exist because you can just decide that person's going to die and then I'm going to Phoenix down them immediately. There's no strategy that needs to go around it. You designate like your weakest DPS to go do it while the healers keep everyone up, or maybe your off tank goes and does it every day. Off tanks would get screwed the most. By far, they would be the ones carrying around like 500 Phoenix downs to do everything. So I'm trying to pet Aloha while he annoyingly meows. Even though it's not his playtime, and he just does this all the time. He actually wants me to brush his teeth because he likes the feeling on his gums, and I also have chicken flavored toothpaste for him. But yeah, no, it would absolutely break the game. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Haps. Hi. Hope you and the cats are doing well. This one's apparently upset with me, but, you know, otherwise doing fine. Is there any benefit to running 14 at higher than 60 FPS? I say this because running the benchmark at 4K to be a consistent 60 FPS, I'm trying to decide between playing that and 1440. So 14 actually has some things that break at over 60 FPS. One that people hilariously like to remind me of is the jiggle physics actually break at over 60 FPS. They do not work as well at higher FPS. Now, I don't care about that, but I also straight up don't care about anything over 60 FPS. I prefer one consistent frame rate that never fluctuates, which I largely get with 60, over it bouncing between 90 and 120 and 150 and whatever. It's funny when I'm in like the main menu, if you go into system config while you're just on the start screen, it still tells you your FPS and it's like 443. And I'm just like, okay, that's great and all, but that doesn't do me. So there's not really a benefit other than you being someone who really likes the higher refresh rate or being able to enjoy your monitor's higher refresh rate with the higher frame rate that you would usually, you know, have accompanying it. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello to you. Hi. Hope you're well. Doing good. Wondering if Yoshi P could be asked the following. He could be asked a lot of things, but that doesn't necessarily make anything happen. Now they've stated they're adding the last playable race, so it'd be possible to get additions and improvements to the old existing ones. For example, as a Rugadan player, I would love more beard options. Is there a technical reason as to why they haven't done so? They've mentioned before that adding things to the character creator is very difficult. It's much easier to add things to the esthetician, but they've also made mention that certain features, just adding them to characters when the game wasn't made with them in mind in the first place is very, very tough. They've constantly acknowledged people wanting better beard or facial hair options, and it's largely not led to very much. Just maybe a little bit here and there, but not a whole lot. But yeah, they have given answers. I'd have to dig them out to give you precise quotes and not anecdotes. So I'm going to just let you know they have already talked about this a bunch, and it's outside of the changes they're making to the creator to make it look more like modern or to better represent your character with the way the graphics are going to look now. It's unlikely that you see a major update to the character creator, but they are always looking to add more beard related stuff or more features to it when they can. Hashtag 10 happy until Mondays with Mr. Dawntrail. That one broke my brain. Even you broke your brain and you're the one who wrote it. Hello, how are the cats doing? Good one. They don't want to be annoying right now. Two questions. One, as someone who's completed both Eureka and Bozia, what improvements do you think they can make to future exploration zones? First one that comes to mind is adding the ability to unlock flying. I actually think you should still keep flying out of exploration zones. I think it completely defeats the entire point of exploration. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it adds a whole lot being on the ground necessarily, but I think I think it improves the experience personally. I don't think adding flying is a good idea. So no, I think honestly, just better queues for dual type systems, more of the large scale stuff. And I think this is the single most important thing, making it more future-proof. Eureka, largely future-proof. Bozia, not so much with the way that with the objectives that you have to complete and how many of them are considered group activities and how many of them are not quick to do if you don't have a group. So I think that's the big thing is future-proofing and making sure, I also say making sure whatever systems in place feel unique to that area. Like even though Eureka and Bozia share a lot of ideas, they do feel entirely different, and making sure that it's not a carbon copy experience like deep dungeons feel like, even with changes, feel like carbon copy experiences. I don't feel that between Eureka and Bozia. There's like very discernible differences between the two, and I think that's another important bit. And two, I want to get started doing blind prog in preparation for the first tier of Dawntrail and Fru. Oh. Any good fights that are good for blind prog? Honestly, any fight you've never done before. Like as a group, people need to do fights they never did before. Even if they have to go back to Heaven's Ward, Stormblood, or Realm Reborn, you have to simulate what it's like to not know what to do and to figure it out. Anything else is useless for practicing blind prog in particular. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Haps. Hi. Hope you had a nice weekend. It's been good. The other day I was doing Bismarck for my Wondrous Tale book, and I think we can all agree it's one of the worst fights in the game. Yup. However, I was reminded of the mechanics that change based on the weather cycles, which in my opinion is conceptually interesting. I don't think they've done that since this fight. Can you think of any other interesting? Well, I mean, that's literally no different than like, you know how the Chimera says like, oh, its eyes are glowing purple, or like the Chimera's eyes. Yeah. The Chimera's eyes go blue. The Chimera's eyes glow purple. It's the exact same thing. The only difference is that Bismarck actually changes the entire environment to be a different weather. It's really just an indicator of what is about to happen. Almost, actually, it's no different than like an AoE circle on the ground. It's just a foreshadowing. So that's what most of Final Fantasy XIV is about. It's about how they communicate to you what is about to happen. And so when I think of interesting mechanics, it's often that. I'll give you an example of a mechanic I really thought we were going to see more of, and that's tripwires from the last boss of Sildian Subterrane, from another Sildian Subterrane. It's every player gets a number, and then there's wires that get a number, and if you're the same number as the wire and you walk into it, you cut the wire and it stuns you briefly, and you get a short magic vuln as well. So it gives you 10 seconds to identify who has what number, how the wires are laid out, and how you need to position yourself to actually break all of the wires successfully. Is that really fundamentally different than stuff we've done before? No, but it presents as such because the game gives you all that information in such a way that allows you to plan it in a way that is super unique to that fight. I really thought we'd see more of that by this point. But you can do anything in 14 and make it could be the exact same thing and feel and look entirely different just based on how the game tells you that you have to do the things to do to complete it. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello, Mr. Happy. Hi. Hope the pre-Dawn Trail days are treating you well. Very busy, and they are. Thank you. I've heard a lot of different players talking about how the game would benefit from a Mythic Plus. Oh, I guess I kind of answered this earlier. It's at the very least a dungeon system with progressively harder difficulties. Not now to put my own cards on the table. I bounced off Mythic Plus in WoW and don't know how well a system like that would work in 14. Wanted to get your opinions on this. Do you think? Yeah, I mean, I answered this, earlier, but I guess to elaborate one more point, a big thing with Mythic Plus is the reward structure for it. And I don't think that reward structure works in Final Fantasy XIV. You can't just throw like mounts, minions, whatever titles behind it and expect it to be a wide scale success. I think to some capacity, though, they could make dungeons that we do for our roulettes more interesting without even doing Mythic Plus, where it's like this gradually, deepening progression system that leads to like these really high end, dungeon experiences. Honestly, if they just made it so that sometimes we had like affixes in dungeons, even if we just were casually completing them, I think that would go a long way to just improving the dungeon experience in some cases. Not in every case, but in some fringe cases, it would improve it. In others, it would ruin it for people. So, that's one of those things where, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Maybe make it a toggle, like join Expert Plus. And in Expert Plus, it's more interesting and you get more tomes, but, and maybe the item level stuff is like 5 higher or something. But then you just have regular Expert and they're both the exact same dungeon. So if people don't like it, they just don't do Expert Plus, or maybe they try Expert Plus and really, I don't know. Like there's solutions, but I'm not, to reiterate from earlier. Yeah, I don't think it really carbon copy fits in Final Fantasy XIV. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy Days. Hello. Hi. 2 simple questions. Can you explain why the media tour is 2 weeks long? I can understand they need to make trips to each region. To let invited guests from each region, I assume a day or 2 to complete the tour. Yeah, they've probably fly to like minimum 3 to 4 different locations. Historically, they've been in those locations anywhere from 2 to 3 days, but they also need setup days and breakdown days. So whenever there's a major event like a convention or something, the companies don't get there like the day of and it's just go, go, go. They get there days earlier and make sure that everything is set up. All the machines are working properly. Any sort of decorations that need to go up, they finalize logistics. And while some of that is happening like, while the traveling is done or even before the traveling begins, I mean, essentially they would probably fly out, prep a location, handle it for however many days, break that have a team break that location down while they fly to the next one to get it set up. So yeah, there's a lot that goes on with that. And, you probably want to give the team that's flying around a day or so to at least get a little acclimated to the amount of jet lag that they're going to have. So there's a handful of reasons why any event like that is going to span over multiple weeks. And two, I know during your HSR streams, your next immediate character you needed was a sustain, unless you're going to pull for Aventurine, who's not really a sustain, but he keeps people alive. He's preservation. Are there any other characters you're looking for? No, because I don't know anything about the other characters. I knew about Aventurine because I played him in the most recent story patch. And so I was like, yeah, this will work. And it is. Very well. So, no, I have no idea what's even coming next, so we'll see. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, Happy. Hi. This has probably been asked before, but here we go again, because I don't recall if I've ever seen this question or answer. Square Enix has been hard at work with a new graphics update, recently announced Blacklist overhaul. Considering we're in 2024, the game is over 10 years old, and with that, hundreds if not thousands of different pieces of equipment and countless glam options. When is Square Enix going to work just as hard to fix the glam system? Well, you kind of answered it. There are tens of thousands of things they need to consider there. And when a system is built to process all that information in one way, changing to another way is probably it's a bigger undertaking than the graphics update itself, which is saying a lot, especially because we're about to go to double die channels, which means the amount of data that those pieces of gear are going to be processing is going to be increased substantially. So making a change to the underlying system that just affects the appearance of that gear, but has to factor in where it was in your inventory when you did it, how to disregard where it was in your inventory. That's a lot of people don't consider that the game has to try to disregard where it's obtaining the information from. Like, it has to let the information flow in and then cut it off entirely so it doesn't get messed up when that item similarly moves around the rest. The way it's built in the first place makes it very hard, is really kind of the ultimate goal. So could they work hard to fix it? Probably, but it's probably even more of an undertaking than the graphical update is. So I honestly don't expect it. It's also one of those things where people want improvements and they can add band-aids that people are kind of okay with without needing to fundamentally change the whole thing. And they'll probably continue to do that because that's far more reasonable and okay enough to get by, which isn't a great answer, but probably the truth. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi. First time asker. Someone who's really only played 14 and no other Final Fantasy game. Should I wait to play Remake and Rebirth until... Actually, you said Rebirth and then Remake. I just changed the order. Until after I play the original. I actually say no. I think you'll enjoy the twists and turns of Remake and Rebirth more if you don't already know what to expect. So I would say just go into playing Remake and Rebirth, forego playing the original altogether at this point. Wait another 3 years, play the last one, and then go back and see it all. Go back and play Crisis Core, go back and play the original. Like, you can play Crisis Core now, to be fair. That would be fine. But, like, I'd say, honestly, at this point, just don't play the original until all the new ones are done. That's my take. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Haps. Hi. Hope you're doing all right. I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. Since Yoshi has specified that having bosses with oversized hot boxes, listen, I know we just had 420, but that may be not the right word. Hitboxes, obviously, have made certain encounters feel less engaging. Does it seem more or less likely they're going to get rid of melee positionals? I just still don't think they're going to survive. I don't think it makes it any more or less likely. I just don't think they're going to keep them. That's all. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi, how are you? I'm doing good. I hope you are too. Trying to make a Eureka weapon. I was told I have to kill a level 40 dragon in Pagos for fast. No, don't ever do dragons for the light farm. It is a complete waste of time. No, literally, I have a video on Pagos light farming. Go watch it. It explains how to do what is called the level sync trick. And it is by far the fastest way. However, I did it on wolves in that video. I think the Yarzans and the Orobons nearby are better if you can do them. But yeah, don't do dragons. Don't do that. No. All right, I hadn't realized how long my recording was going for, but my voice is starting to get tired, so let's speed demon through the rest. Someone said they started playing Armored Core 6 and was curious what my go-to builds are. I don't think that's a valuable input. They have reworked and rebalanced a lot of stuff in Armored Core 6 since the last time I played. So I don't think I could recommend a build that would be accurately as I remember it being. So I just don't think I can give a good answer. Someone was talking about, yeah, for Bard, you want to see Barrage or Raging Strikes restore Apex. Actually, we just talked about this on State of the Realm. We just want the Apex gauge gone. In all honesty, it just doesn't need to be there. It's not really engaging or fun in any capacity. So Yeah, I know. I don't think that's the right idea. Somebody apologized for not saying hi last week. That's always nice. Is there a reason we don't see more hairstyles based off of characters from past and present? We have quite a few, but I'd imagine it has something to do with the limitation on how they actually look in Final Fantasy XIV. But we do have quite a few of them, so I'm not sure which ones in particular you're looking for. Clive's obviously is one. You know, a lot of people wanted that one. Maybe we'll get it at some point. Is it worth leveling Ninja starting from level 1 if Viper gets released at level 80? I mean, if you want to level Ninja, yeah, there's like no relation between the two other than them sharing gear. You could get the gear for Viper without playing Ninja and then just play Viper, or you could level them both because you have the gear. That's up to you. Do you play with legacy controls? No, I play standard. I played World of Warcraft for years and 11 before that. 11 is not a measure of, you know, control that I want to use. But I'm very good with my my standard settings. So I especially when it comes to look away mechanics. I've seen so many legacy players make bad decisions during look away mechanics. Like, oh, let me just fix it slightly. You'll turn all the way around, my good friend. And then there's just some other comments about healer stuff, about people chiming in with the healer stuff from last week. Some more HSR stuff. Some people are complaining that the weapons for the new jobs aren't realistic. I've never seen that, but if I did, I'd call that person stupid because it's a fantasy game. Like, why do you want, like, sometimes I make the whole, well, that's not realistic joke, but I'm not serious. I'm like making a joke. I'm like stream pandering and baiting for like interaction and stuff. I don't actually want it to be realistic. It's like, dude, none of the things we do are realistic in this game. You're not gonna punch God and he dies like a monk does. Doesn't matter how many times, bro. We're just hitting air half the time. The boss is like 60 feet away and the hitbox is stretching halfway into the arena. I'm not landing any hits. They're way out there. Yeah, you can't be worried about that stuff. And I think that was everything, unless there was some like unmarked, like no hashtag, question. I think that is everything for this week. So with that, thank you for watching this week's episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy. If you have a question, ask it in the comment section of the video below for next week's video. And with that, I will see you then. Thank you for watching. And until next time, take care.